IVM.
Hey there, friend. If you're anything like me, then you have no clue what a mutual fund is, and your life might be subject to market risks too. So that's why you should probably listen to Paisa Vaisa by Anupam Gupta, who'll answer all your questions about mutual funds, financial planning, banking, all that money stuff. You know. Check out new episodes every week on the IVM podcast app and anywhere else you listen to podcasts.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Geek Food Podcast. My name is Tejas. This week I have Jishnu. What's up, man?
Hello.
So, we've had 2 blistering weeks of the biggies. One, we spoke about Avengers and our spoiler cast, which was like about an hour and a half long, and still only half the length of the actual movie.
I'm still not over it.
Yeah, I'm not over it.
I still have not consumed a single piece of media around that movie.
I've seen it 4 times now. That movie.
Jeez,
yeah, and I want to go again. But we spent the next week with Star Wars Day. On May the 4th and with our live event, so you guys can check that out as well. So we had Avengers and Star Wars, practically our biggest stuff. Game of Thrones is disappointing everybody every week, but that's we'll get to that next week. So we decided that we'll take a break from everything that's current right now and maybe have a retrospective episode where we talk about one of the greatest science fiction films of all time. Or somebody called me out on this saying, "Oh no, it's not just science fiction; it's science fiction action."
Yes.
There's a big action element. If you want to say it's the greatest science fiction film of all time, technically, 2001 is there. It's not action-oriented.
I wouldn't say it's one of the greatest action movies of all time, but it's one of the greatest science fiction movies of all time.
Definitely. Oh, yeah?
I think.
Oh,
so I was
interesting.
rewatching. So I just rewatched it last night.
Same.
What I found very compelling, it's been eons since I've seen the movie. I haven't seen it since I had a compact Presario.
Okay.
That's how long I'm talking. I'm talking.
When was that? That was
pre-2005.
Oh wow. Okay, so that's a long time.
A long time, right?
Oh man.
And I've always really enjoyed it, but I never found myself thinking about it too much or coming back to it. Probably because of the sequels. The sequels I did not enjoy.
All right.
But here's my point.
Yeah.
I think the reason I didn't enjoy the sequels after rewatching the original again was that. Yes, people remember the action moments from that movie. They're iconic because they nailed something people had attempted before but never quite got down with. And speaking of obviously bullet time, things like that, I'm talking about freeze framing and setting up still cameras and a 360 loop around it and doing all that, which now lately in the last couple of years, Sherlock has sort of brought a resurgence to that kind of a shot, doing those kind of circular things of here's epic moment, pause.
It invented it, so
it that's what people talk about. However, I think the reason that the sequels didn't land with me so much is because that's what they ran with. And the sequels had a lot more action than sci-fi, or at least they spent a lot more time on the action than the sci-fi.
Yeah, of course.
And when I was watching the first one again, it took me by surprise. It starts with a bang, pretty action-packed to begin with, not like the most explosive action, but action nonetheless. And then it's a good, maybe, 45 minutes of just sci-fi speed.
It's the best.
Just a whole bunch of talking.
It's the goddamn
And Keanu
best.
Reeves just standing there. I know you love John Wick. I haven't seen John Wick.
For shame, Jishnu.
At the time
of this recording, it's released tonight. It releases tonight, John Wick 3. Yeah,
so why are you here?
Because I got stuff to do. This is work.
So, at the time, Keanu Reeves, I would say, was definitely not the greatest actor. Maybe he's gotten better. I hope so.
He's really not very great, but his subtlety is his acting.
Sure.
Yes.
And I think the reason the movie worked so well is because the supporting cast was great, but also because that story is just epic as all hell.
Absolutely.
And watching this guy, kind of like Mark Hamill in the first Star Wars, just this guy who can kind of sort of act, just going along with this insane world that he's just now found himself, like that line, you feel like Alice, and let me show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Yes, yeah.
So just seeing how deep that rabbit hole goes is what makes the movie stick.
Absolutely.
And then you throw in the fact that the last maybe half an hour or so is just nonstop insane action, which
Amazing.
So it's earned.
Yeah.
And the sequels, not that I've rewatched them, so I can't really say it.
We'll do episodes on them also,
But the sequels I thought were far more just about okay, we've opened the door to this kind of action.
But when
People
was the
like
last time you saw it, though?
Exactly. I haven't seen it in a while, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's better.
There is some good stuff in it.
I'm sure there are.
There's some.
It has been 20 years.
Not as much science fiction, because once the gambit of what the Matrix is up, and you know what it is, then you're just basically diving into the technicalities of it, which is what the sequels do, and then you're just kind of completing the story, which is what they're trying to tell. And obviously the novelty of it will always be more so in the first movie, but in the second and third, which is Reloaded and Revolutions, has a lot more of the philosophy that I kind of like about. There's a lot of Buddhist, a lot of Asian. There's a big Asian culture in these films. Obviously, apart from the kung fu and stuff, a lot of it is about spirituality. It's about philosophy. The naming of the cities, all that stuff. So there's a lot of that in it. But having said that, you're right. I think this is one of the greatest science fiction films of all time, period. But what makes this an unbelievable film is that there's not a false scene in this, man. There's not one
there
scene.
Really isn't.
I was watching it again, got on Blu-ray, so it's magnificent. But the thing that gets me is that they don't have to come up with ideas of where the story can go, because the first half of the film is literally just telling the story, explaining.
It's just exposition.
It's just exposition.
And it's beautiful exposition, because at the time it was so pseudo groundbreaking.
It was groundbreaking, man. This is 1999 you're talking about.
Right.
Can you imagine the other films that were coming out were...
The thing is,
I can't remember,
the
man.
notion of this stuff has been alluded to before in various permutations. I think one of the best examples of this kind of thinking, or this kind of plot device that they used, is maybe 1984. And that does it beautifully in a novel form, but I don't think we'd ever really seen it executed as brilliantly on the screen before. People had tried it, and they never stuck the landing as well as they sketched it. And what I really appreciate, like you said, there isn't a weak scene, and I think that's because a lot of the smaller scenes, the gag scenes, the ones that aren't as pivotal to the point of the story, I'm thinking of moments where, after Neo's been in training for a little bit,
basically the tasty wheat
I was exactly thinking that.
Mouse
I love the fact...
But that's a great scene.
It's a great scene because they acknowledge things that we would, if you're not thinking about it while watching it, you know that if you sit and think about this movie for a while, you're going to ask those questions.
Absolutely.
But let's not make that so important. Let's just cast it aside, and let's let a side character just mention it, so the audience knows that we know that this is a problem. We'll just address it. We'll laugh it off, because movies, and you have to at some point, we have to stop trying to, have a tight knot and a bow around everything. Some things you got to let go. But we'll address the fact that we're letting it go, which is good. It's it's self-referential.
They're also talking about, like you said, some of the questions that you would have later on if you kind of just dug a little bit. But man,
could we just explain what we're talking about? Because I think we're talking about a very specific point, just in case our listener doesn't get it.
Yeah, so first of all, we're talking about the movie The Matrix. I feel like we didn't really explain that part. We're talking about The Matrix. Actually, that's actually pretty good. We should never reveal what we're talking about. I know it's going to be there in the title, but who's to say? So the scene we're talking about, we literally did not know.
We didn't say it. I don't think we did.
Okay, cool. So we're talking about Matrix. This was like an insane round of Jeopardy. But in this scene, basically, Mouse, his character, he's talking about, when you go into the Matrix and you eat chicken or something.
Why does everything taste like chicken?
What is it? No, she's like, do you think the machines knew what chicken
stuff tasted like?
Stuff tasted like for it to tell you that this is what it's tasting like right now? Tell your brain that, which is... It's an insane thought.
It's the is my red your blue, is your blue
exactly
my red.
Just like the convention of what we describe things as. How did another race know what to tell you to fool you into thinking that this is real? Man, so that's an amazing scene. But it all of it is meaningful. Everything in that it's especially that line where he's just Mouse says he's like, what did you think of the woman in the red dress? And he's like, and APOC and Switch are just like, oh, here he goes again. Digital pimp hard at work, and he's just to deny our very impulses is to deny the very thing that makes us human, which is
brilliant.
You can just tattoo that on your back, man. That's how good a casual line in the Matrix is. It's unbelievable. There is one misgiving, I think, in this film, which we'll get to. But we'll also talk about what you think maybe worked for you, didn't work for you. But let's just talk about this film and just the setup of the idea of the fact that machines are basically using humans as batteries to kind of power their entire race. Man, so first of all, if you watch this movie once, every line that is said about the Matrix, like until he actually kind of is freed, his mind is freed, is really talking about the Matrix, but without saying it. It's like he's just waxing poetic about it, because it's such apart from it being a technical, it's like slavery, technology enslaving you. It's also just like, it's a great thought experiment. Elon Musk has even gone on to talk about it, saying that we could possibly be living in an illusion or in a gigantic video game, because, the way technology has expanded and duplicated and exponentially become better over the years. In a specific set number of years, in n number of years, it'll be indistinguishable from what we consider to be reality, which is an amazing thought. So, like, in that first scene when, you meet Morpheus, by the way, Lawrence Fishburne,
I forgot how young Lawrence Fishburne was.
So I'll tell you the ages of all the actors who are in this film at the time they were filming it. Okay, this was 1999 when it was released. But because I just wanted to know, because we've seen these guys for like so long, for the last 20 years essentially, right? Lawrence Fishburne is like 39. Hugo Weaving was like 40 or something like that. And I don't know if this may be true, but because I wish I'd gone into a little bit of the trivia, but the entire film is shot in Australia. And so I thought that maybe the casting just happened to happen there.
No, they did it for tax reasons.
To save bucks. But they got one of the greatest actors now that we know. He's Elrond, he's everybody. And boom. Weirdly enough, this was shot in Australia. Lord of the Rings shot in New Zealand. So that literally 2 films kind of made his career, like in that sense, like lead him to this level of fame.
Give him continental citizenship.
One, that, and the other, he's obviously amazing. He's exceptional. But I think Keanu Reeves was like maybe 34, 35, which is, wow, man, these guys were so young, and now they're like in their 50s.
He doesn't age.
He does not age. This has been a thing of the internet.
Both him and Hugo.
Hugo's been...
Neither of them age.
Yeah.
They look the same.
Man, and the weird thing is, but the thing about Keanu Reeves is that he does a lot of his action stunts himself. Like, he does, he knows how to use weaponry, he knows Kung Fu, he actually knows all these art styles. In fact, that a little bit of trivia, he directed his first movie called Man of Tai Chi, which is not great, but it's really good action in it. Like, and he's the villain, and he's kind of this...
Isn't Tai Chi like the peaceful yoga thing in parks that old people do?
It's about as peaceful as... Well, most of these are martial arts were created to center yourself. It can be used in self-defense, but...
I've only seen Tai Chi, like, yuppies in Central Park, New York, doing it.
That's because they think, dude, I'm sure
that's the only context I have for Tai Chi. I've never seen it in any other context.
I'm sure you could kick somebody's ass with yoga as well, if we knew what it could do.
Sure. Like, I'll bend you sideways.
Yeah, precisely.
Yes.
Say
hello to my son.
To my sleeping dog. What is it?
Downward
dog. I don't know yoga. Okay. I tried it once. It was very difficult. It was very, very difficult. I'd rather go to the gym.
I got cramps. All right.
Right. So, just if you watch those entire scenes until he's taken out of the Matrix and into the real world, man, everything that Morpheus says is so beautifully, it's almost like just tell him already, like what it is. You can go into the movie and you can just say like, okay, Morpheus tells him, it's like, yo, listen, all this shit, not real. You're in a dream world, son.
Right.
And just tell him. But why do you think they kind of try and, was it like too much information for somebody?
Yes, because if you literally did that to me, I would say, all right, hold my beer. It wouldn't stick. So to his credit, Keanu Reeves' credit, like that half an hour-ish long, introduction to before he meets Morpheus and meets Trinity and the little cat and mouse that kind of happens there. Right. I thought that was done pretty damn well. The only one moment at the very beginning of the film that I remember going a little... sort of tilting my head sideways, was like, what that? Like, that didn't quite sit with me. Which is the White Rabbit.
Why?
So, not why. You could ask why, but I don't think like that amount of minutia is a bit too much to get into at this moment. But I think what struck me as odd was the fact that, the guy just gets a random message on his computer, which is freaky, and, he doesn't get where that's coming from, doesn't know who it is, why they're doing it, whatever. Because prior to meeting the agents for the first time, running away from them and being interrogated in that room, he was completely clean.
No, he meets Trinity.
No. But I mean, I'm saying that he, in his head, he was relatively innocent. He's done a lot of like cyber crimes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But as far as like anything specific, he didn't have any one particular thing he was afraid about. He's not like that. We're never like led on to believe that he's done that one big thing that is just looming over his head. He seems to be your run of the mill hacker. Like he's not he's not like the hacker.
Yeah,
right?
That's Morpheus.
That's Morpheus.
Yeah,
he's just one of many people that do cybercrime, right? So yes, at any point of the cop shop, you're going to be nervous, but it's not like, oh, I know they're looking for me for that one thing.
But that's why he says, here, I'm going to give you the finger and get me my lawyer.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. But so when the white rabbit shows up, I just, like, for literally half a second, I'm not making a bigger deal of this than it actually is, but for just half a second, for half a second, I went, why did he say yes so damn quickly to following these people? Because those guys showed up at his door for some criminal activity thing. Like
he gives him some discs and stuff.
Here's a floppy disk, enjoy.
Here's a 1999 series floppy disk.
Right, so he gives him that floppy and he's like, cool, enjoy your 3.1 megabytes.
Yeah.
And like, thanks, we'll see you later. And then he sees the white rabbit and he's like, you know what, I think I will go to your sex dungeon rave party.
Well, because it says like, follow the white rabbit.
Right, but when he doesn't know, I'm just like,
I'll
are you that curious? Like,
well, I haven't, because I think there's a good explanation for it. Because I think prior to the film, I think we come in a bit in media res, but Morpheus kind of does explain the fact that this guy has been searching for something. Maybe that's why he got into into hacking and to decrypting codes or whatever.
That's the thing. We don't because it's hearsay. Like all we know about this guy is he's a dude who does hacking things.
Yeah, well, because his whole life he's been looking for an answer to a question, or he's been trying to find Morpheus. Morpheus and him are known to each other even before we are introduced to the characters. So when he gets this message on his computer, it's all about taking a leap of faith. Like he's just like, okay, cool, this is weird. How did they know that first of all my door was gonna knock? And when he sees, she says follow the white rabbit. I mean that's Trinity obviously speaking. And then he sees it and he's just like, well, okay, somebody knows something more than I do, so I'm inclined to believe them.
We're completely we're totally picking at hairs here. We're totally picking at hairs.
But it's cool.
All I'm saying there was just one small moment of just like, what? Like are you that enthused about this? Okay, fine.
He is pretty
anyway, cool. But it remains...
Again, he might not also be... I mean, I don't know, when he gets picked up under the Washington Street Bridge. Mm-hmm. This is the name I remember.
Yeah.
And he goes and Switch kind of says it's our way or the highway. And he's just like, you know what? F this shit.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
But I think that's because he's just not... he's not gonna tolerate, aggression, violence. Is that it? He's a hacker, man.
That's where I'm letting Neo's character arc, his own personal story journey,
Mr. Anderson,
is not the most compelling thing about this movie for me. But that's true. Fine.
Yeah.
Because it's not called Neo. It's called The Matrix.
Yeah, that's true.
It's about The Matrix.
It's about the Matrix.
And The Matrix is friggin' amazing. Yeah. Morpheus is brilliant. as a introduction to said Matrix, and Neo just plays the role of Luke, who also, when we first met him in A New Hope, was just like, all right, here's a random dude who's doing things,
who seeks adventure or seeks the answer to something.
He's a hell of a lot more willing to go along on the journey than a Neo is, but that's fine. But he's not the point. He's just the audience's vessel to.
But he's also the one. Matrix. The entire story kind of. Is around the fact that, why is he being searched for as opposed to anybody else? In the sense that, the same reasons why, we used to say, oh, Star Wars, it's all about the hero's journey, etc. And now Star Wars obviously has evolved. You can be a hero.
You get yourself a broom, you're a hero.
You and that broom kid. Anyway, but we're talking about the kid at the end of The Last Jedi. But, in this specifically, it's about this dude specifically being the chosen one.
Right.
And very, in that sense, in the vein of more classical approach to the hero story.
I'm just saying, while that is the main plot, it's about following his story. There have been far better chosen one stories.
Yeah.
There are a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
And so, because there are a dime a dozen, that's not what's gripping me to the story, but Absolutely. That's okay because the world he's in is just so damn compelling. I don't mind.
It's amazing.
That I don't ever really find myself caring about Neo. At no point. Yeah. I mean, I was never
Yeah, he doesn't
on
have
the
family.
Edge of my,
he doesn't have much a character development before that.
You just actually just hit on my one main only gripe about the thing.
Yeah.
Is how quickly he lets go of his reality. Of his matrixified reality, and completely no remorse for what he's leaving behind. Right? right?
Yeah.
If we want to get into endgame territory, the line...
Spoilers. Sorry,
Spoilers.
I just want to...
Well done.
Yeah.
We never do that. Tony has a line when he meets Cap for the first time after a while and says, all right, I'm in this, but I can't risk losing what I've found. I'd love to bring back what we've lost, but I can't risk losing what I found.
Yeah.
And in that vein, Neo is just like, yeah,
Sure.
screw, yep.
But
Parents, siblings, best friends.
Well,
He
doesn't, at least the way Neo's character is shown in the very few minutes that we get with him is that he's this loner guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have much. He doesn't have a roommate. He doesn't have anything. Like pretty much.
We're assuming that.
No, I mean, we see his house. We see that he lives alone.
We see one room. He's got a very small.
But he
room.
goes to the door and he opens it. Trust me, as somebody who lives with flatmates,
that's all I'm getting at, man. Like it's all we see is a very, very specific tiny glimpse. So benefit of the doubt is all that we have to give him, because it's not like it would be different if we did see like 15 minutes of him going about his day doing his thing and seeing his but we don't. We literally get like 30-second instances. All we see is him sitting at his desk before the phone call comes.
That's what I love about that shot
as
well.
It's just one shot. It's just one moment.
For me, what I liked about that was he goes into work and the first thing is that scene with his boss, and his boss is just he works in a very run-of-the-mill kind of organization. He's late to work. He obviously doesn't care about it. When we see that shot of his cubicle, it's like the most generic. I mean, purposefully so, deliberately so, to show that his existence on this plane is very. It's almost like he's a robot, like, and that's the kind of thing that I was picking up from it. Having said that, let's take a break, and we'll discuss this one question, Jishnu. Like you mentioned, is this movie woke? We'll find out after this break.
I didn't ask that.
Oh my gosh.
Hi everybody, welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you are not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank our sponsors this month, Savari, Storytel, and Paytm Money. Also, guys, I just want to remind you that we do these audiograms on our social media. Audiograms are short snippets from episodes which are interesting to listen to. Check them out. I think you'll enjoy them. Also, guys, we are doing a podcast with Ronnie Screwwala called the Ronnie Screwwala Podcast. And on that podcast, on the last episode, we're going to have Ronnie answer a bunch of listener questions. If you'd like to send us a question, please send it to us at dreaming@ivmpodcast.com. Also, do check out our YouTube page where we have Ronnie talking to Cyrus on Cyrus Says. We have a bunch of short clips there which I think you'll enjoy. This week on Shunya One, Sheeladitya and I are joined by Hitesh Malhotra, the Chief Marketing Officer of Nykaa, to talk about various aspects of marketing. On Equity Sahi Hai, brought to you by Motilal Oswal Asset Management, Shrey Lunkar talks to Anupam about life insurance and what the product is all about. On the Habit Coach podcast, Ashton tells you different ways to manage and control stress and how it will impact your life in a positive way. On Know Your Kanun, Amber talks about the structure, power, and characteristics of the recently passed Lokpal Bill. On the Pragati podcast, Anand Arni, ex-member of RAW, and Pranay Kotastane, head of the Geostrategy program at Takshashila, discuss the upcoming election in Afghanistan. On Advertising is Dead, Varun is joined by Harshit Chavan, managing director of Toast Events, to talk about the growth of digital media, influencer marketing, and the famous Gap Dabbawala campaign. On the ATKT Talent Tent, hosts P-Man and Krupa are joined by singer-songwriter Naila Saldana. They discuss the strict dress codes followed by colleges in India. On Positively Unlimited, Chetna talks about different aspects of relationship, unrequited love, heartbreaks, closures, and how to find your soulmates. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We're talking about The Matrix. Okay. Man, the thing I noticed about this film when I was watching it is like, in 1999, did a pretty diverse cast, man. Like, it's that one shot when you see all of them around the telephone and you just look at that cast of characters, that's quite like cool. It's like there's enough women in that shot. There's Morpheus is a black guy, a lead actor in a 1999 movie. He's like the main dude, who's leading this team and this operation. I thought that was pretty, that's dope, man.
A lot of versatile and diverse hairstyles.
Yes.
Several bald people.
I mean, I guess
some dreadlocks.
Is it also
some,
because
bleach blonde?
The Wachowskis,
some steampunk mohawks.
Who had a steampunk mohawk?
Not mohawk, but spiky, like a pseudo Johnny Bravo. What's her face? The girl in white. The Switch. Yeah.
She doesn't have a...
It's whitish. She's got a whole white thing going.
Right. Yeah, she's just got blonde hair. You mean?
I'm not calling her a supremacist.
She has a blonde.
Who said supremacist?
You did.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, man. I was thinking about it, and I was just like, I guess I didn't notice it back then. In my innocence. Did you watch this movie in the theater, by the way?
Did I? Probably. I don't recall.
I remember going for this film and not and having my brother and my mind was just blown, obviously. And I remember they used to have
Yeah, I probably did. Yeah.
They had a website called whatisthematrix.com, and the whole thing was, hey man, what is the Matrix? And then this line was said, and it's said in the film also, it's like, oh, we can't explain what the Matrix is, we have to show you what it is. Problem is, when you watch the Matrix also, it's just like, what did I just watch? It's that kind of
it was the first
level of complexity.
It was Inception before Inception at the time.
I mean,
it was Inception of that time.
Inception is this time's Matrix. That's what I kind of go with. Inception is a great film, but you want to compare it to the Matrix?
Oh yeah.
The Matrix is a far superior film in that sense.
It's far more satisfying. It's far more complete.
Oh yeah, it's complete. Exactly,
yeah.
It's so complete.
Inception's a little like I'm gonna do something. You might not be able to.
This is cool, but you know what? Inception stands on the shoulders of films like these. We wouldn't be able to appreciate Inception as much, and maybe even if Inception came out in 1999 and The Matrix came out now, we would say the same thing. Yeah. But having said that,
okay,
yeah.
I'm glad we hit on this because I think this illustrates my point perfectly. Inception does a hell of a lot of character work on Leo's character. It's all about him and his personal story.
It's not as tight a film though.
It's not as tight a film.
Yeah.
But I think that's what happens. That's the risk you run when you dedicate as much screen time as they do in Inception to the guy who is our vessel for figuring out.
His name is Dom Cobb. That's Leo DiCaprio's name in the movie.
Mr. Cobb.
Yeah. His grandfather is his father-in-law is British, but his wife is French. I don't know what's going. But
diverse cast. There you go. Boom. Done. So. In that movie, you spend so much time getting to really see why he sheds every tear that he does, and why he's as angry as he is, and why he loves his wife as much as he does, and all the stuff, which is great. In this case, in the Matrix's case, you don't know the first thing about Neo. Yeah. You don't know the first thing about where he lives, who he's in love with, what he dreams about, all you know is he's a guy that has a very okay job. He's very good at his job, but he doesn't care about it as much.
He doesn't care about his life.
He doesn't. That's the thing. We're assuming that. We have to do.
I'm cool with assuming that.
You know why? There's nothing wrong with that.
You know why I love Neo? Because he's like us. He's like me. He's a late bloomer. He doesn't have purpose in his life until he reached a certain age and he realized, shit, this is what I was born to do. Until then, I was just like a nobody and a nothing. And then when somebody pulled me out and said, hey, this is what your life has been, not what has been waiting for, but you've been searching for some kind of meaning, some kind of relevance to your existence, and here it is. Leonardo DiCaprio,
this
Dom's character, just to complete, okay? A big part of Inception's heart is driven by the narrative that Dom, it's a simple script. Dom is trying to reach his kids. He can't go to America because he doesn't have his passport.
We know this pain very well.
Very well, yeah. Passport, visa pain, we got it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of really what drives the script, and in the middle there's a lot of going into people's dreams. Exactly. Which is why Dom's character comes across more as somebody who has a lot more riding on his, the stakes are higher in that sense. So I get it.
I would argue that in a case like Inception, or with any movie, the more you get to know a character, the more you will agree and disagree with things, and the less you know about somebody. It's always before you met Morpheus, remember, you would every little time that he was mentioned, every little time the computer spoke at him, as an audience member going holy crap, this could be so many things. I'm intrigued as all hell by this
Morpheus
presence.
Is amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it's brilliant that Morpheus worked out as well as he did, and we love him and he's great.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is the less you know, the better off you think it is. Right? So the more you imply the benevolence of this Morpheus character, the more you love him. So when you come into it, you're already liking him. Luke is a great example. People don't like The Last Jedi. Why? Because now we're learning this other side of him that we didn't know. And we didn't need to know that, right?
Yeah.
So in this case,
I wanted to know. Just to be sure.
I love Luke no matter what. But that's not my point. The point is, with Neo, we know so little, therefore you're able to say that, he's like me. Because you don't know, you're assuming, you're inferring.
Yeah.
In the case of Mr. Cobb, we know so much about the guy that we agree and disagree, and we're only with him up until a point until we see, you're playing on that part of your character.
Right.
I wouldn't do that. I don't like that.
Correct.
Therefore, I don't empathize with you now. But with Neo, he is such a, I don't want to say two-dimensional because he's really not, but he is far less developed than a Dom Cobb is.
Oh, absolutely.
And so therefore, when Cobb does certain things, his falls are far further than with Neo, because when Neo slips up, we're like, he just it's fine, it happens. But when Cobb does it, like, I know why you did that, and I hate that that's why you did that, and therefore I'm not sad for you.
I will defend Neo because I think he gets a little bit of... He's not two-dimensional for specific reasons.
Yeah.
Because there is some character development later on in the film. Maybe you're right. In the first half of the film, you don't really get to see what he believes in.
Right.
And then there's the moment, obviously, which we get to, which is... when and I love all this like destiny versus your choice, shit like that.
Yeah.
I love all that crap. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like, the oracle says, know thyself, here's a cookie, boom, all right? All the potentials, awesome shit, man. I love all that, okay?
Right.
But there's that moment when the oracle obviously tells him, it's going to come down to your life or Morpheus's life, and one of you is going to have to sacrifice. It's like it's a Doctor Strange moment almost in many ways, right? Yeah, and so you're gonna have to decide. And when obviously invariably Morpheus is abducted by Agent Smith, and we get to see Neo, who comes out of the Matrix, and he saves. I mean, just after Cypher's whole thing, and he dies, and whatever. So the only people left are Tank, Neo, and Trinity. And the thing I love about that scene is where Tank is about to pull the plug on Morpheus because the access codes to Zion are far more important than Morpheus' own life. So they're ready to sacrifice his own life.
Right.
And Neo's just like, yo, stop all this, man. Because, the Oracle told me this was going to happen. Shit, she was right. But I believe in something that I believe that I can bring him back. There is no Oracle, there's no prophecy saying that he will do that.
Right.
But he's willing to give up his life because somebody took a chance on him and believed in him.
Right.
And he's going to do that. So for me, that kind of works a lot in his favor and proves in many ways, like there are lots of clues, right? She says, the Oracle says, maybe not in this life, maybe in the next one. Obviously, he dies, he resurrects, very Christian-like,
Sure.
and the other, there are lots of clues in the film. One is like, the fact that I've never seen anybody move that fast. He does like few things that are hinting to the fact that he's the chosen one. So I believe that, he was kind of figuring out as he went along. Obviously, he's just thrown into this new world. He has to prove himself. And he does so, man. He goes and he saves Morpheus' life, which I thought was really, really awesome. And the coolest thing was that when he's trying to tell Morpheus, yo, I'm not the one, Morpheus is like, yo, I don't need to know that. I'm good. Love that.
So when they're in the thick of it, when he does make decisions like that, which you're totally right, they do flesh out his character a lot more. They are, because they're in the moment, because those decisions are based on fear of sort of losing his main
his father figure or whatever.
No, not father figure, I would say, but more of like the one guy who can sort of guide him through this chaos, because like his life is completely turned upside down as much as you could possibly imagine it to be, right? If he loses that person, then out of fear, he's going to be not back at square one, but he's going to be slowed down like hell. Yeah. And he's only going as far as he's going because he's got the support of this guy with him. He wouldn't be anywhere. He wouldn't be the one without Morpheus. Like, you can be the one, but then if Morpheus doesn't find you, it doesn't matter if you're the one.
Also, Morpheus's prophecy when he went to see the Oracle was that Oracle tells Morpheus that you will be the one to find the one.
Right.
Yes.
And that's another reason why Morpheus doesn't want to hear it, because he's like, no, I'm supposed to find the one. You better be the one because I've put all my eggs are in this basket.
Yeah, it's true.
And when they both have that same relationship with each other, right? Yeah. Morpheus's eggs are in, or how do I put this?
Yeah, this without making it weird.
Without making it weird.
Morpheus's eggs are in Neo.
Yes, exactly. Morpheus's eggs are in Neo. Neo's eggs are in Morpheus, and therefore, if they lose each other, they lose all their eggs. And bro, I want an anda out of this. I need to like have breakfast
and not have anda at the end of it.
So, but wait. But what I'm getting at is like the blue pill, red pill thing.
Yeah.
Right. Like when Cypher says,
why didn't I take
the red pill?
The blue pill.
Sorry, the blue pill. That scene is great because
love that
the steak eating scene, like that is the one scene which has stayed the strongest in my head over 20 years.
You know why? Because it's the most selfish but very relatable.
Very
scene.
relatable,
Super
and it really also that guy is an amazing actor.
Joe Pantoliano
is
classic.
Just Baby's Day Out, highlight of his career.
Ben Urich in Daredevil, underappreciated. Sorry.
Mary had a little lamb. Best scene ever.
Yeah,
anyway,
classic.
But so that moment, that one little dinner conversation with the agent is great because it gives you in like 60 seconds a hell of a lot more character work than a lot of scenes thus far with Neo have done, in my opinion. Just because I think that like he just delivered it brilliantly, and I feel like I just understood him so much quicker. Like
ignorance is bliss.
His
man.
0 to
so
60
good.
is a hell of a lot faster than Keanu Reeves is, at least in that up until that point. And when Neo has a blue pill, red pill moment, there's just like the slightest bit of hesitation. And if it wasn't for like the entire like opening maybe 20 minutes, there's way too much like what's the word? There's way too much just coincidental lightning strikes after Morpheus like says a line. It's like
I love
the blue pill or the red pill.
Welcome, Neo.
And I love like when Cypher says, ignorance is bliss. Cut to harp.
Amazing.
Just like,
that's so true.
It's brilliant.
Great, fine.
But
love it.
the thing is, like, when Neo has his choice, right? He's like blue pill, red pill. He makes a choice to go down the rabbit hole. He doesn't. Like, mom, dad, well, it's fine. Yeah, my life. Screw it.
Maybe he's an orphan. Maybe he doesn't have
That's
parents.
the thing. That's my thesis.
But I believe so.
But it's a good call.
Yeah.
See, it's a great movie because even though there isn't character development, and I 99 times out of 100 will always go for a story that has a lot better character work. But this one somehow works because they put the screenwriters put all their eggs into just develop this world.
Yeah.
And they did an amazing job with that.
Scenes that do that.
And sacrificed,
so good.
And sacrificed a well-rounded character for it.
Yeah.
That's another reason probably why I think the sequels didn't work for me, because I wasn't like, if it was more about like Matrixy things.
It is about Matrixy things. But it's
less,
not
it's
focused.
going down this chosen one thing. I'm like, I don't care about this one guy. Like, he's cool. He's great.
Yeah,
but he's not 3 movies worthy for me.
I'm in agreement.
Yeah.
I think so. I believe there needs to be a hero. Yeah, I don't like the chosen one thing. Somebody needs to step up if you need to have a revolution.
So it works. It works for that premise, but it doesn't work for like, let's follow this one man's journey. I'm like, no, if we followed like the Matrix's journey a bit more, or like, got to know more about.
Have you seen the Animatrix? Because that shit is awesome.
Is it?
It's basically 2003, year of the Matrix, when Matrix Reloaded released in June, and then the first time I ever stayed till the end credits for a movie, and that was well before a Marvel film, was The Matrix Reloaded, because there was a rumor that was going about that said that the trailer for The Matrix Revolutions is going to be at the end of it.
Totally forgot.
And I went and I stayed and we waited and we just like, is this possible? Because at that time, it wasn't even possible. Who stays till the end of the credits? And then it happened and our minds were just blown. It was amazing. So I remember in those films, the Animatrix released before The Matrix Reloaded, which was like these series of short animated films that kind of, it's like, it's all told, maybe it's like maybe an hour, all the shorts.
So they're really short.
Yeah, the only time that I've ever seen somebody do something like that is Gotham Knights, the animated sketches, basically the shorts before The Dark Knight released, and which kind of bridged the story between Batman Begins, and it was voiced by Kevin Conroy. It was perfect. But having said that, Animatrix kind of really did a killer job, and it was like really dark and adult, and tells you the real and shows you the story that is only alluded to by Morpheus in the first film, and shows how the machines really got to power. And then there's references to it in the Matrix Reloaded as well, about this kid who's always trying to impress Neo and help him, and then he says, "Oh, he's like, you saved me, Neo. You saved me, Neo," and he's like, "You saved yourself."
Yeah.
And that story is told in the Animatrix. So there's a lot of really good work about the Matrix in that. Having said that, I think it is the story of the Matrix in Reloaded and Revolutions. I feel like we'll need another podcast to talk about those. But I think it is a story about it because the story of the Matrix is a story of the machines enslaving humans, right? And that's basically what they're trying to obliterate, or they're trying to kind of remove and be free. And like Tank says in this film, if the machines lost tomorrow, the party would be in Zion, which is kind of what happens. But it's great. So coming back,
can we talk about the potential prequel that is happening?
Is it a prequel, or is it
that's a speculation at this point, because
they've been teased for years saying, there's going to be Matrix 4, Matrix 4.
And because of the 20th anniversary, it's come up again,
and because of John Wick and things like that.
So now I believe the last I read, which is again, this is all complete speculation. The last I read, as of this week, they said the Wachowskis are not doing it, or they're not directing it.
They probably won't direct it.
They're only involved in it. Now, I did some digging on the Wachowskis, and from that track record, I only found 2 wins in their list, which is V for Vendetta and Matrix.
They didn't direct in V for Vendetta.
Oh, so what did they do?
It was James McTeague, which is
so. What did they do?
And V for Vendetta is my favorite film. Sorry, just wanted to put it out there.
So what did they do?
They've done
in V for Vendetta.
They produced the film.
They produced the film.
Yeah, they produced the
well,
film.
There you go. Okay, so then they have one win.
No, dude, producing is... Hey, guys, come on. Kevin Feige, come on, give him some... Like, what about Kathleen Kennedy? All these people are very, very vital to the success of a film. Not just the director, as we have found out, The Last Jedi was directed by Rian Johnson, director I didn't like for Looper, but has given me one of my favorite films of all time. Now... having said that, the Wachowskis, I love literally everything they do. I've not finished
Cloud
Sense8. I love that movie.
Oh my god. No.
I love that movie. Okay, I want to go on record. No. Okay,
I'll go on record. I vomited in my mouth.
I love that movie. I think Speed Racer is one of the most underrated films of all time. It was genius. I like Cloud Atlas because I'm a romantic, and I think that the romantic notion of that film is very powerful to me, and I like it. I just like it. It's very ambitious. I really love that film. I know you watched it only because of Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would tell you I love everything he does.
Yeah.
But no, I don't.
But
that movie.
The Wachowskis are real. They are true visionaries, and the stuff that they've done is fantastic. But yeah, I did want to talk about the fact that there was one thing in the Matrix that I did not like, which is the fact that Trinity is this amazing character, and she has a lot more to do in the films to come, and she's like painted as this really, really badass, kind of assassin / whatever, what do they call these people who go to they're hacking into the Matrix, whatever, right? Or revolutionary. But I kind of, hated it now as an adult. When I was a kid, it was fine. But when I watch it like more recently, and I saw it again last year, and I saw it this year just now before this podcast, and the thing that keeps irking me is that at the end, which is really well handled because, Agent Smith has been to that hotel in the beginning of the film. So that's how he knows to not go up the stairs and follow Neo that way. He just goes straight to the door where he knows where the telephone is. And when Neo opens the door to kind of get out of the Matrix, shoots him, point blank, and he kills him.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, man, the Morpheus's face, Lawrence Fishburne's face, everyone falls, and they're just like, yo, this was supposed to be the one. Anyway, Trinity goes, whispers in his ear, saying that, oh, you know why you can't be dead? Because the Oracle told me I would fall in love with the one, and I love you, and that's why you can't be dead. And then he comes back to life. Cool, it was awesome. Okay, it was awesome that he comes back to life. He kicks ass. And then he gets out of there.
Yeah.
Great, fine. But, come on, man. Okay, so one is because it's doing Trinity's character a disservice in some ways, that you're making her entire arc like a love thing. Like the Oracle went, like Morpheus went to the Oracle and said, you're going to find the one. Then you're going to kick somebody's ass. You're going to do this. You're going to shoot these guns. And Trinity was like, what about me, Oracle? And she's like, you are going to fall in love with the one.
Yep.
Now, I'm fine with her falling in love. Love is a great thing. Okay? But in the movie, we don't really get very many scenes with them.
Because there's no character work.
We don't get...
I don't care about their relationship.
I don't care. I mean, I care about it because I love this movie.
Because you choose to put that on it. But it didn't earn it. It didn't earn that moment.
Oh, no, it does not at all.
There you go.
Not at all. Yeah. So I think that's like my biggest complaint with the film. Makes up for it by adding a rage song at the end. But...
Yeah, the soundtrack.
Is so
90s, it was amazing. I was just like, man, I forgot these songs existed.
Even if they make the Matrix 4 or -1 or whatever it is, they better retain that kind of soundtrack, man.
Seriously.
That Rob Dugan, Moby / that 90s industrial like Prodigy sounding shit. So good.
Trent Reznor should do this.
Yes, 100%.
That'd be amazing.
Like it'll be like 300 score. Like it was pretty awesome. And
I forgot the 300 score.
yeah, it's like it's very like it's got like very quite riffy and it was cool.
Okay,
yeah. Yes. This thing kind of bothers me a lot, especially because it's such a classic 90s thing to do. And this movie is so woke, like I mentioned, like it's got a diverse cast. It's got like, yes, it's got a white male lead, but then it gave birth to Keanu Reeves, who's a gentleman we do not deserve. So I'm all for his career going amazingly well, and that's great. It's fine.
Sure.
At the time, that's what seemed right to do. But the Wachowskis themselves, like they are like obviously they're transgenders, but they've like added a lot of value to the world that they've been working in, and it's like it's been great for the industry and everything. So I thought this was like how did this one fall? But was this a studio kind of exec decision?
Maybe.
Because it kind of just weakens her entire arc. Anyway, she fulfills her arc by the third good film if this is what it is. But that was the one thing that bothered me. But otherwise, this movie, man, like every scene is so good. Everything, like the fight between Morpheus and Neo, and all these guys go like, Morpheus is fighting Neo, and they all run to the screen.
Yep.
Love that. Love, this is arguably one of the most quotable films ever. Like, I know Kung Fu. Show me. Like, so good. And guns, lots of guns, by the way, is a line in John Wick 3 because it's in the trailer. Just like there's an homage to it. There's a lot of homages to the Matrix, actually, because, I mean,
of course.
This is a spoiler, but not really a spoiler because now the third movie's coming out, but Lawrence Fishburne is in John Wick 2.
Oh, wow.
And, and he's in 3 as well, but like, and
that's great.
When they meet each other, it's masala, man. It's great. It's so good.
No, you're totally right. I think this movie is filled. It's littered with cliches that it nails, and you don't mind it because like
it invented it, man.
It has a perfect. No, it didn't invent it. It was 1999.
Some of the
no, it really didn't. It really didn't.
Okay, which ones do you think that it feel like it was a cliche to you?
I mean, like cliche in that like that scene, the Morpheus and Neo are fighting, like that whole moment of like, oh, let's look at the two of them.
Or the master and the student.
Exactly, master and student, and then the best friends go to like watch. Oh my God, can he kill the? Can he defeat them? That's not new at all, but it works brilliantly, and they have a perfect record, I think, in this movie. Every scene, like you said, every scene lands, everything works, and it makes no sense, but it is on paper littered with cliches, which on paper go like, oh, this is gonna suck, and then they stick the landing every time. Which is a treat totally to see.
Because it's cool,
which is what makes it really fun. It's such a fun movie, unlike, let's say, an Inception, which I wouldn't say is a fun watch. It's not like it's not
a
like,
fun ride, but it's a tougher watch.
It's an exciting ride, but it makes you scratch your head a bit too much at times. So I'm just like, yo,
completely understand.
I'm like, hey, slow down. At no point in the Matrix do I go slow down. I'm just like, whoa. That's a new thought, that's a new concept, but then it'll be followed, like that one moment where you go like, whoa, that was cool, will be followed by a really fun action scene, which they've earned, and it's a really out there, especially at the time, those kind of shots you wouldn't see before.
Amazing. The Gator effect, yes.
So that whole thing, like it's really balanced, it's paced beautifully. The pacing in this movie is amazing. Inception, on the other hand, some scenes I'm just like, yo, I'm going to snooze through this because he's going to ramble about something.
Exposition, obviously.
And I didn't come here to get,
that's actually a really good point.
I didn't come here to get a university lecture in philosophy. Even though The Matrix does the same. It gives you a university lecture in philosophy, but it just does it so much better and it's more palatable. Inception is just heavy-handed.
The loading screen with Morpheus and Neo for the first time when he says like, welcome to the desert of the real, and just that entire, the way, I mean, obviously, full credit to Lawrence Fishburne as well for delivering it. Man, he's just, he's amazing. Okay,
he's like a real life Mufasa.
He is real life Mufasa.
Yeah.
I mean, James Earl Jones. But
I mean,
yes.
If Mufasa was a man.
Yeah, and in The Matrix.
And
this is Simba.
And wore
please
glasses.
hold Keanu Reeves above your head.
Can we mention a small thing I was thinking
about?
Let's do this. Since they talked about the fact that you can choose what you want to wear, you can choose where you want to be, how you want your hair to look,
your digital residual image.
There you go.
Yes.
I was like, are these guys all like really kinky? Because they all choose leather. Trinity chooses a corset for whatever reason, which is, I think every woman will tell you is like horrible and painful to wear.
Yeah.
And what's her face? Switch just chooses to wear like white everything and like a clean white shirt and no bra. I was just like, yo, this is not Star Wars.
But it's a very, that's what I'm saying.
It was just like, just a fun fact. I was like, yo, you guys are into some shit.
Well,
right,
okay,
cool.
100%.
They're definitely up to something.
But I also think that's just what makes this movie so like
it's fine.
Edgy.
It's fun.
And
it's fun. It's like, fun as hell. It's like they just all are really into pseudo steampunk.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's what I love about this. But 100%.
Well, also, when they're the only 7 people, I think.
In that
world, they're like, well, guys, we gotta keep ourselves amused.
Jishnu, you and I don't run in those circles, surely.
What?
Yeah, we don't know who in Bombay right now is getting a leather strap and beating somebody over the head with it.
JJ has a whip.
He does have a whip, but that's for his what? That's for his drums. I want to say.
like Why are we talking about this?
Because I'm telling you, you think that
this shouldn't
that
be public
was...
information. This is between Mr. and Mrs. Junkie.
You thought that...
no, I'm getting at there are only 7 people in their world.
And
they never leave that ship. It's a very small ship. And after a point, they got to be like, yo, guys.
But when they're in the ship, they're wearing H&M. Like all the hemp stuff. They're dressed like Thanos.
Sure, on the ship, they're dressed like Thanos. But when they're bored...
Farmer Thanos.
When Mouse is like, yo, I'm tired and alone. I'm gonna make my lady in red.
Yeah.
And then the other guy's like, okay, you make your lady in red. I don't have those skills. I'm just gonna put on some something kinky and then have my fun. That's what I'm getting at. Why do they choose to always dress like that?
I will explain. Okay, I think you're right. There is a big steampunk influence on this, except it's like techno-punk. That's
sure.
That's the genre, right? Cyberpunk or whatever.
Totally.
And they needed this distinction in the Matrix, within the Matrix, and they wear all that cool shit.
Yeah, that's fine.
Also, they wear big, large coats so they can hide their weaponry, as just demonstrated by Neo in the last scene. Yeah. Anyway, listen, man. You can pick at it for days. It's a classic as far as I'm concerned.
It's great.
Anyway,
it's amazing. All I'm saying is, Dom Cobb did not choose to dress.
But all of them are dressed like preppy. They look.
They all look like the agents. They all dress like the agents.
They all dress
in Inception,
like agents.
they dress like the agents.
They all dress like Chris Nolan, by the way. Who shops at Raymond? By your own admission.
By fact, right? It's a fact now.
It's not a fact.
Hey, I saw it with my own 2 eyeballs.
Yeah, but that statement is still not confirmed. It's only been corroborated slightly.
It's been freaking corroborated.
Okay,
he was
for those
at
who
the
don't
yacht
know,
club.
please go back and listen to our Nolan episodes where Jishnu thinks and is probably, did see
straight
Chris
from
Nolan.
the horse's mouth. I was listening to an episode that we did on Nolan while in the back of a cab. I saw Christopher Nolan. It is a fact. Standing in front of the Raymond store in Kemp's Corner because Nolan was in town to do location scouting.
That does not mean
at the yacht
your
club.
Statement is true. Do you realize that?
No, that means he was there.
Okay, I'm saying is
I wouldn't
Christopher
have flipped my
Nolan
shit.
was at the same time. I've someone who looks like him.
I've seen many white blonde people with big widow's peaks.
This is true. You did grow up in for a short period of time in the US.
Yes, I've lived there extensively, and I've seen many a tall white blonde man. But this was a tall white blonde man with a very distinct widow's peak in a suit which he's always wearing, in front of the Raymond store where you buy suits.
Okay.
And he was in town, and that makes me happy.
And that makes him a complete man.
Let me live my life.
So,
yes.
Let us conclude this episode by maybe tell us what's your favorite scene in this, and what is my favorite scene in this? Well, I'm very confused. Pick an action scene. Which is your favorite action scene, and which is your favorite cerebral moment? You know what I mean?
I loved the Oracle. I love how. The actor of the Oracle, and just like that.
She passed away between that and the 2003 films.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they had to replace the actors. But yeah, go ahead.
I thought that scene, the dynamic between the two, and
it was great.
The fact that she's like lines like, the thing that'll make you really scratch your head is, would you have knocked the vase off if I didn't tell you?
Yeah.
And things like announce, look at your hands and go, and you're supposed to go, huh? And like that was
well
brilliant. Well, because again, that's a cliched scene.
But
you meet the Oracle, and they know it's cliched, but they pulled it off. It was brilliant. It felt like what DC would want to do. You know what I mean? Like when DC is like doing their next round of, we know we've seen all the tricks that comic book movies can do, so we're gonna do that same trick because
except we're gonna nod. Knowingly,
we're gonna be self-referential about it, but then they just don't stick it. This is sticking it.
But you like Shazam, I thought.
That was the only one I liked.
Okay,
yeah.
They're not being as self-referential in any of the other DC films. Not Wonder Woman for sure, but Aquaman a little bit, maybe.
Aquaman, and it didn't stick. And that what I'm getting at is that scene was great. Action-wise, I suppose a very simple moment that I really enjoyed was the first time Neo and Morpheus are training. And he's doing kung fu.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool to see they weren't over the top with the actual action they can do. The fact that they let the actors do it themselves.
Yeah, it was awesome.
A lot of time in that fight scene, you'll notice, is spent just doing slow camera pullbacks while they do their pose.
Yeah.
And just watching them like shift pose 1, pose 2. Yeah. The actual fighting is very little.
But also very graceful kind of camera work. And
graceful,
really nice,
so graceful camera work. And so therefore, it's more of like, act like you're about to fight like you mean it, and then the fighting is inconsequential because the fighting is like we've all seen people throwing fists and kicking and all that stuff.
There's
but it's more like I love how well they just did the brace for impact. Okay, do you believe yourself? No, I don't. Now I believe in myself. I believe in it even more. I believe in it even more. And then there were like 6 or 7 moments where they step back and like they say one line to each other.
Yeah.
And Neo starts all cocky and like flicking his nose and stuff, and then slowly he just develops a stronger belief in himself, which comes across not in the fighting, but just in those moments of like, I think I got this. I think I got it a bit more. I got it a bit more. I got it a bit more.
And solid track on that one. Great tune.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes, I think, is that. Yeah, I think it's the other type of training which he goes and Rob Dugan's Club to Death is playing, and it's like and then he's just like. An important lesson I teach in Neo is that, if you're not one of us, you're one of them. And that entire is like basically we live in a system and that system is controlled by rules. And man, that scene is so well done. And so like memorable that when I watch it now, it's just like, wow, I'm watching like history, happening.
Is that line the red dress line?
Were you listening to me or were you looking at the woman in the red dress? So good.
Solid.
So it's such a good scene.
Yeah.
And he tells him, he's like, so what are you trying to say that, I can dodge bullets? He's like, when you're ready, you won't have to, which is a perfectly good setup and payoff at the end of the film. That's really great. And action sequence, I'm inclined to say that I really like. Obviously the corridor fight scene. In the beginning is when they're going to save Morpheus. But the train station fight sequence is great. That's like it's so memorable because of the jumping, flying thing. And plus, I just love that scene where he goes like. Do you hear that, Mr. Anderson? That is the sound of inevitability. I love that.
Just like Thanos.
Yeah, very similar. All these villains seem to have the same.
They have a thing.
And he was also Red Skull.
They're all up their own ass.
Well, he's not Red Skull in Infinity War.
He is not.
Yeah.
But like speaking of that train scene and just the action in general, just to echo my point I've been saying this whole time, that I think the reason this works is because when you do those kind of moves, those kind of camera moves in slow-mo and freeze frame and 360 spins and all these things, you can see them in any action movie. Anybody can do that. But the fact that they chose to not develop the character of Neo as much, but develop the world that he is now becoming the best at dealing with, when he does those things, the fact that we pause to take take a moment and acknowledge the fact that he is controlling himself so much to be so quick to do these things, that is an earned camera move. That's an earned, like...
Oh, yeah.
You could have opened the movie with a bang and done a lot of these cool effects, but I've been like,
they do,
that's cool.
Technically, with Trinity, but...
They do, but it's not... It doesn't, take your breath away, like, when it happens, 90 minutes into the movie, when he's finally... We've seen what is possible within the Matrix and we understand why that's happening. As opposed to, because there's an explosion, we're going to slow time down so you can see all the flames in the explosion. That's cool.
No, I get that, But the moment where he, he kind of does the whole backward kind of leaning thing, it's awesome. What I love about this film, and I was supposed to conclude, is that, a lot of this movie, the themes are so strong and still debatable. The fact that this movie is about, it's red pill, blue pill. It's about choice. What kind of world do you want to live in? You want to recognize that you live in something that is being controlled, as opposed to, the fact that there is something like destiny and there's an oracle. It's like such conflicting ideas within the same kind of body of work. And I think going forward, if they do kind of make, like you said, like that 2 and 3 didn't work for you on that level, I hope that they recognize that the things that made this movie so special are those kinds of arguments or those kinds of thought experiments rather than just the action. And the action is wonderful and I love action, so but it's great spectacle. But we've seen spectacle now in its highest form over the last 20 years, so you really got to bring something really unique to the table.
I would love a very short, not very short, but relatively short, I'm going to say Logan-esque because I think it's the best. Logan-esque tale of the Oracle and Morpheus and how they meet each other. And
that would be awesome.
I would love to have him see how.
So you want a prequel as opposed to
because Morpheus is the one character that I think I'm most attached to at this point.
Same. He's my favorite. He's one of my favorites.
And we know what happens to Neo going forward. I don't honestly remember how the third one ends.
Spoilers from friggin' 17 years ago. Neo dies. He sacrifices his life.
Oh, there you go. And he's dead.
There have been many chosen ones, right? He's the 7th in...
So there you go. So
But that's because...
I would love to see Morpheus's his awakening. I'd love to see
because
that too. Because if you remember, like at the very beginning of the movie, he's on the screen, like as Neo's asleep on his computer screen. There's a thing of like a newspaper article saying manhunt for this dude.
Exactly.
So they know him. They know what he looks like.
So basically, we want a Morpheus origin story.
He's a public enemy, right? He's a public enemy. So I'd love to see him become
how he
a public
made his name.
Yeah.
That's cool.
See him like.
I dig it.
I'm going to see the origin story of the Nebuchadnezzar and like maybe
who would play him? Like, that's a good one. Oh shit, man, I have to think about this. Oh, this is cool. Yeah. Michael B. Jordan. Let's do it.
Boom, done.
All right. So I think that's a really cool idea. I think the Matrix, the universe of the Matrix, considering that this is a 7th Matrix because it keeps feeling because there was always a 1. Mm-hmm. So there's always potential to go forward that, the machines just rise again and they do another thing. But that would feel a bit repetitive and kind of defaults like these last three movies into meaninglessness. Yeah, maybe like a prior story to that would be really cool.
You could do an amazing piece just about what that does to one's psyche, because they intentionally skipped that entire angle of Neo's being. Like that moment is literally like one scene of the two of them sitting in a chair, red pill, blue pill, and it's done. And they'd never mention it again. I would love to see Morpheus going from drab everyday whatever the hell he's doing to then realizing, and in theory, like he took it upon himself far more than Neo did, because he became the leader, right? So like seeing how a guy deals with...
That's cool. I dig it.
Just that the psychological trauma that goes through that. I would love to see like somebody just lose his shit and build everything that we've seen in the Matrix himself and sort of be like, I need to know how to get myself out of this.
Solid.
I need to, like,
that's solid.
Be like, I would love to see the first guy that woke up in that field of battery humans.
And that's supposed to be the one, though.
So there you go.
So that's what Morpheus speaks about that in the film. No, there was one person who was born within the Matrix and realized that he could control things. So that would be a nice story. In fact, it's so weird that that's our story. Like, we have Game of Thrones, which is concluding, but now they're setting a prequel 1,000 years before that. We have Lord of the Rings and stories which are going to come, like, stories like the Silmarillion and things which are set 1,000 years or 500 years before that. Similarly here, the Matrix is so large in it because it's 2199, right? Is the year. He's closer to that year, that there's such a present
day Matrix story. Just like it's the year 2019 and some guy is just like, yo, some shit's going down.
But the thing about the Matrix, and this is my last question for you, but like in the Matrix, he says, we suspended reality for humans to believe that this is the height of this is what he says, the height of your civilization, which is 1999. And which, well, may be the case, like there's so much of crap has happened post that.
Is this when the two of them are watching TV and see like stock footage of like crowds walking through New York?
No, not that. This is when Morpheus is captured by Agent Smith, and he's just and he's telling him the story of whatever it is, and he's like, this was your reality, and this, there's a height of civilization. Or I think it's either Agent Smith or Morpheus, one of them. But like, but yeah. So is there like a 2019 update that the Matrix would have? But I suppose by the time the revolutions happen, the story concludes, and 2003 is basically where they kind of conclude. Or is the Matrix just this unending loop of? I guess not, right? It has to go forward for people to kind of assume that this is real. It can't just be stuck in one time period. See, still good questions to ask even today.
It's a great movie.
Love that shit. All right, cool. Thank you, Jishnu. We'll probably do another episode on Reloaded and Revolutions, the black sheep of the Matrix family. I still love those films because, it's just, they have a lot to offer. I think they're a little underrated sometimes now because they've been shat on a lot. So we'll definitely do another episode on it. Let us know your burning questions about the original 1999's Wachowski's The Matrix. And mail us at contactgeekfruit@gmail.com. You can find us on all social media at GeekFruitHQ. And it's time to log out. Huh? It's time to like pick up the phone and like, what is the word, man, for getting out of the Matrix?
Bye.
Yeah, okay.
How many times have you motivated yourself to improve your sleep or lose weight or be more productive? How many times have you failed? Hi, my name is Ashton Doctor. Tune into my show, The Habit Coach Podcast, where we focus on creating small, tiny habits to improve your life instead of those big, impossible tasks. So make listening to me a habit every Monday, Wednesday and Friday on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com or on your favorite podcasting app.
How aware do you think you are of your laws and rights? Do you look up to laws when you are caught up in situations? Do you know what your rights are when you're stuck somewhere bad? Well, here's a show that can help you move an inch closer to being aware of what your rights are. Tune into Know Your Qanoon with me, Amber Rana. This is a podcast meant to answer all your law-related queries. Catch Know Your Qanoon every week on the IVM website or the app or anywhere you get your podcast from.